What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. So the other day I was scrolling on Reddit and I saw this article about how the Samsung Galaxy was pretty much where Samsung got it right. Now I don't remember the full, maybe that was actually the name of the article, I don't remember, but I'll go ahead and leave that link down in the description. You can go and give it a read, but pretty much the article summed up was saying that Samsung really listened to the customers and they put out a phone that, the consumers wanted, and I 100% agree with that. I would probably go as far as to say that it's probably Samsung's best phone overall. Now obviously it's not like the best, like the Samsung Galaxy S10, S10 Plus, those are the best phones, those are the fastest, everything, but I think for everything that this phone brought at the time of when it was released and coming from its predecessor, I think it was a pretty ginormous leap. I would probably give the same thing to the S6, but the S6 was a flop. But the S7 I think was really where Samsung really listened down to the customers. It was actually super impressive of what they did. So as I said before, I mean the Galaxy S6, it was a pretty big leap from the Galaxy S5. We had that new body, it was much more premium, we had super sleek bezels, and it just felt and looked like a much more premium phone that actually still holds up quite well today, even from a lot of competitors that came out in 2019. It still feels and looks like a very premium phone despite all the bezels on it, but it missed so much and it took out so much. It removed a lot of what Samsung, in the Samsung line of phones was known for. It removed that micro SD card slot, IP certification, the removable battery, and we haven't gotten a removable battery since then, but they shrunk down the battery size too, and they put a bigger screen, at least a higher resolution screen on it, and that would suck up more battery, so it doesn't really make much sense at all what Samsung was trying to do there. I think they were trying to get more sales to the S6 Edge, which was a little bit better in a couple ways, but still, that was really weird, and it was just a dumb thing Samsung did all around. But it sold like crazy. They sold a ton of those phones, but the Galaxy S7, even though it didn't completely change what phones were known for, it didn't bring anything too crazy, it showed that Samsung was willing to listen to the customers at the end of the day, because the consumers are always right, and they really did improve the Samsung line such a huge amount that still phones like the Galaxy S10 still use some remnants of the Galaxy S7, believe it or not. Now build quality, it was definitely a bit better for sure. Coming from a Galaxy S6 to the Galaxy S7, I did feel like that phone was a little bit more premium. The back felt a lot more nicer, and they added a little bit of thickness to it, which I'll get into in a second, which was really important for them to do. But I do think that the thickness and the overall build quality was a pretty big success. They also made it kind of the camera flush with the back, so the camera didn't protrude a lot, which was super cool. I don't know if a lot of people were necessarily complaining about that, but that's also a really important thing. The biggest thing that they did though, and one of the huge advantages for the Galaxy S7, was that they added the IP certification back. They added that back in. The S6 didn't have any. The Galaxy S5 did have it, which was really weird that they had it on an older phone but took it out. They eventually added it back in with the Galaxy S7, which is such a huge important thing. And like I said, with a little bit of remnants with even the newer phones, that IP certification was never removed again from any Samsung phone since then. So that's a humongous thing that Samsung was willing to listen to customers and put that in. And it's not like they did anything that, other phone manufacturers weren't already doing. This phone came out in 2016? A lot of phones at the time had IP certification, including iPhones. So now another huge thing that they did was they added back the SD card slot. I don't know why they removed it from their previous phone. That was the biggest selling point of a Samsung phone. When people had iPhones and all these other phones, they were like, I want to get a Samsung, I want to get an Android because of the SD card slot, but they removed it with the S6, but then they added it back in with the Galaxy S7, and every single Samsung flagship phone since then has had a micro SD card slot except the Note 10, the base model, which is so stupid. But I'm so glad they added that back in, and it was a huge issue with the S6. If you remember that, a ton of people were complaining about it, including me. I don't even think I had this channel when the S6 came out, but it was still a stupid thing that they did, but they added it back in, which I'm super happy about. But I think the most important thing, might have not been the biggest thing, but the most important thing was that they increased the size in the battery coming from the S6. Now, they didn't add a removable battery back in, which I'm not too salty about. It's not that big of a deal. Obviously, this was years ago, so it's not like they're going to change it now. But the Galaxy S6, okay, had a 2550 mAh battery. Now, that 1440p screen is still on a lot of phones that are coming out. Like the Note 10, I think, the Note 10 Plus, that phone has a 1440p screen. Those screens take up a lot of battery, and to have a 2550 mAh battery is not that good. However, the S7 did increase it to 3000 mAh, which any increase in battery is always welcome. I literally love that when phone manufacturers do that. If they were to even keep the same size battery coming from the predecessor, I wouldn't be too salty, but the S6's was way too low. The Galaxy S7 brought a 3000, the Galaxy S8 also eventually had a 3000 mAh battery. The Galaxy S5 I think had like a 27 or 2800 mAh battery, but that battery was removable. The S6 did not have a removable battery, and they decreased the size of it, which made no sense at all. So the Galaxy S7 did bring that increased size battery. Now at the end of it, this is kind of a tricky situation because ultimately I do believe that the Galaxy S7 was probably the best signifying Galaxy flagship phone that Samsung put out. Obviously, it's not the one that had like the most amount of features, didn't have the most bells and whistles, it wasn't the fastest thing in the world. But when you compare the phone to the predecessors, I think that the Galaxy S7 is much like the Galaxy S8, which is much like the Galaxy S10. The Galaxy S8 also brought a lot to the table. It's timeless. That phone you can still use like 2-3 years from now, and it's not going to even feel like or look like an old phone. The S7 is starting to show its age because of the bezels, but again, maybe in a couple years we'll look back at the Galaxy S10 and be like, oh my god, that phone has a hole punch display that's so old fashioned. We have phones that don't even have anything on the screen at all, or any bezel for that matter. So I think as time progresses, we're going to start looking back and be like, oh my god, the Galaxy S7 wasn't even the best when the Galaxy S10 was the most important because that brought this, and that eventually got into this phone and that phone. So I think as of right now, I think the Galaxy S7 was probably one of the most important Samsung phones, probably the best flagship that Samsung put out, just because of what it brought to the table and what it brought from its predecessor. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the fastest phone or anything like that. I probably wouldn't recommend a lot of people using it just because it doesn't have any more software support. It's still getting security updates, but I probably wouldn't I would recommend people getting the Galaxy S8, even though that one is not even supported by software anymore. It's still going to get security updates, and it's still a super important phone at the end of the day. But at the end of it, like I stated, I do think that the Samsung Galaxy S7 was probably one of the best Samsung phones Samsung ever put out. So if you want to pick up a Samsung Galaxy S7 or a Samsung Galaxy S8, I'll find the cheapest ones on Amazon and link them straight down in the description below so you guys can get it from there and help support the channel at the same time. But that is pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section as well. Hit that like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.